Are you ready to boost your confidence when selling so you're able to close more deals? Nikki Roush will show you how to build a foundation of skills and a mindset that creates sales success without feeling pushy or salesy and without fear of rejection. She is a sales strategist and coach with more than 25 years of sales experience and is master certified in neuro-linguistic programming. This is a radically different approach to selling. It's a no sleaze, no slime, and no stress approach to building your business. This is Sales Maven. Here's Nikki.
Welcome, and thank you for listening to the Sales Maven Show. I'm your host, Nikki Roush. I'm your own personal sales maven. I'm here to offer you tips, techniques, and strategies to master your sales conversations and to make the sales process easier for you, and more importantly, easier for your prospects. So today we're going to talk about what can sometimes be a little bit of a controversial tip and technique that I share with clients. And it's about how to help people get to the point quickly, succinctly, so that we can deliver to them. We can focus on the things that they need support on. And we can also use this as a technique to help wrap up a conversation. Because the thing about this particular technique and the language structure that I'm going to give you today around how to gracefully tell someone to get to the point is because we are all struggling to find time, right? Time is the thing we can't really make more of, and we're always trying to fit in more, or we're always running from one thing to the next. And when you are in conversation with somebody who is really struggling to articulate something or be succinct, it can be a huge time suck, right? You can watch the minutes just drip away and you're going like, oh my gosh, am I ever even going to be able to serve this client if they don't get to the point? We're going to run out of time and I'm going to have to end this session, or I need to move on to this next thing and I don't want to be late for the next person that I am going to be working with. So this particular topic of how to gracefully help somebody get to the point, I hope you'll find useful. You may find that this is something that you struggle with in your own conversations. And maybe as you hear a little bit more of this, you might be able to ask yourself or phrase this language that I'm going to give you to yourself and see if it helps you be more succinct, more clear, get to the heart of the matter quicker. The thing about this particular topic, and the reason why I started it by saying it's a little controversial, is I wrote an article and shared these tips a few years back. And I got a lot of really positive feedback and I got some negative feedback. One person in particular was really, really hot about this particular topic and the article that I had written. She took personal offense to it, and it wasn't about her. Actually, I've never even met this person before, but she felt like it was going to cause somebody important in her life who struggled to articulate themselves, that if anybody ever used the language that I'm going to share with you today with this particular person, that it would derail a lot of the healing and a lot of the therapy and a lot of the things that this person had gone through. So here's my disclaimer around what I'm going to share with you today. Relationships first, rapport always. Anything that I offer to you always needs to be approached with a high level of integrity. These are not tips and techniques to tear anybody down or to make anybody feel less than. That is not the point behind what I'm sharing. There are times where we want and need to be able to kind of direct, to guide, if you will, somebody so that we can really serve them at the level that we want to serve them. And that's why I'm going to share this particular technique with you today, in hopes that it will be a great rapport builder for you with your clients, that it will be a way for you to have more clarity on how to gracefully interrupt and direct a conversation for the sake of time. And really, again, from the integrity standpoint, so that you can really deliver on what you've promised to somebody. And sometimes that promise needs to be onto the next client who is waiting for you because you haven't wrapped up the last client, because that client is having a hard time getting to the point or articulating what it is that they want. And now you're in this time warp, this time suck thing. I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast, but I learned this in my NLP studies that some of us are on time, like we live and breathe, the minutes on the clock, and we want to be on time. I like to be on time. It's really important to me. I grew up with a mother who was always late. I used to, probably from the age of about 10, I started always setting my room alarm clock 10 minutes early because it was a way to trigger, like if I could get my mom out of the house, if I could get her thinking that we were already 10 minutes later, then maybe we could show up on time. I always found it really embarrassing to show up late to things. And so now I'm always the awkward person who tends to show up early for things. Like, I think I have talked about this on the podcast. Like, don't invite me to a dinner party and say, we're going to start at 6 and plan to feed me at 9. Because I will be a little bit like, what the heck? And I will show up at 6 because I will dread showing up late, because how rude is that? I used to have these friends that they would have us over. They would throw these like dinner parties, and they would be like, hey, come over at 7, which for me, because I grew up, we always ate really early. So 7 o'clock for dinner always seemed really late, which I think I'm an old soul. My husband still teases me about this today. He's like, I feel like, you were meant for the 4 p.m. crowd, like the older crowd that likes to eat early. That's always me. But the point was, you would show up at 7 and they would not have even started anything. And sometimes you would eat at 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And I loved this couple and still love them to this day. And they would always be like, why are you here so early? I'd be like, you told me to come at 7. And they'd be like, oh, nobody comes at 7. Like, people start showing up 8:30, 9 o'clock. And I'd be like, that feels so rude. So I'm an on-time person. Then there's the people who are what's known as in time. They get lost in time. Time has no meaning when they're in a conversation or when they're caught up in something, which can be really awesome to find yourself in situations with people who are just in time. They'll just spend time with you. But if you're the person who has an appointment with somebody at, say, 2 o'clock, and they're in time with the last person that they're working with, and it's 2:15, and you're sitting there going what is going on? That's terrible, right? That's terrible. So we have to, as people who deliver a service to somebody, if that's what you do, we have to be on time. It's really important. And so sometimes in order to be on time, we have to be able to wrap it up with the person that we were working with before so that we can show up and deliver to the next client who paid good money to have access to your time. Okay. So that's the whole point behind why I am sharing this with you today. I hope you will find this useful. And so here's some of the language that I want you to be thinking about with somebody when they are struggling to get to the point. And by the way, this is going to be the question of the week. If you've been listening to the podcast, you know that 2021 for me is the year of the question. So I'm going to do a few things with this question, but this is going to be the question for this particular episode. And I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into it than I normally do. I usually give the question at the end of the podcast, but I think this one is really important. So I wanted to do a whole episode around it. Now, when you find yourself in a conversation with somebody and they're kind of getting lost in the conversation, or maybe you're getting lost, like you're not really sure what it is that they're trying to say or what's the point that they're trying to make, one of the ways that you could say this is, Would you please share the most important details about this situation with me? That's one way to say it. I'm going to give you a couple other ways to say it. Now, when you say this, think about relationship first. So how you say this is going to be as important, if not more, than what you actually say. So what do you do with your voice? Are you softening your voice? Are you keeping that kindness to your voice, or are you being harsh and aggressive? If you're being harsh and aggressive, the other person is going to take offense to this, or they're going to feel shamed by you in some way, which is not at all where I'm going with this technique. It's more about helping direct the conversation. So if you said, would you be willing to share the most important details about this situation? Or you can also say it like, would you be willing to share the one or two things that you really want me to know about this situation? Or would you be willing, I'm going to give you a bunch of ways to say this. Would you be willing to share the 3 most important parts of what you want to work on today? Or you could say up to 3 things that you want for me to support you on today. It's another way to do it, because people can get lost in story. I love story. I know I've talked about this on the podcast before, and people can get lost in story. And if you get lost in story, you are in time, not going to stay on time. So for the sake of delivering, you want to help people not get too far into the story, because story can be a big time suck. As interesting as it is, it can be a huge time suck to your time with a prospective client or with an actual client. So sometimes we have to help direct them a little bit. Now, another way, if you want to really soften this a little bit, is you could even say to somebody who's lost in story, you could say, I am so interested in what you're saying. And due to our limited time together, would you be willing to share, what are the most important things that you want me to know about your story? And sometimes that can help redirect somebody and go, okay, well, really what I want you to know is this, this, and this. Okay. And now if they can go this, this, and this, well, now you've got something to work with. I can find sometimes when I do strategy sessions with people, they'll want to tell a lot of story. And again, I love story. But if they spend, I do 50-minute strategy sessions. If they spend 45 minutes telling me the story, that really only gives me 5 minutes to offer them any coaching. And the thing about coaching is I am a good listener. I will listen if that's really what people want to pay me to do, is to just listen. But most people want feedback. They want direction. They want coaching. And so I have to help kind of facilitate that a little bit so that I actually have some time to really coach and then see what questions they have about it, and then give them some other coaching, and then see what the next question is that comes up, and then some more coaching. And then we have these really productive strategy sessions versus just getting 5 minutes to say, okay, well, you could do this. And now we have to bring it to a close because I have somebody who's waiting to be in the next, Zoom session with me. So help direct this with people. Now I'm going to give you another way to say this. Now this one is a little bit more direct. So think about your voice quality. Are you saying this for the benefit of the person, for the relationship? Don't use this technique when you just feel really irritated with somebody, because it's going to come across in the conversation. But if you are trying to deliver, I shouldn't say but, I hate but. And when you are trying to deliver something to somebody, or you have a limited amount of time, this is another thing you might say. You could say, please take all the time you need in the next 1 or 2 minutes to share the important details about this situation, so that we can then move on to the part of actually getting in and doing some work together. And then you wait and you listen intently and you give them your full attention for that 1 or 2 minutes. And then when they get to that place where now we're 2 minutes, 3 minutes in, you might need to say, now, What's one last thing you want to say before we jump in to coaching around this? Now, again, what you do with your voice, really important. And if they cannot be succinct, the other way is you might even say, now, I'm happy to spend as much time in our 50 minutes together listening to anything you want to share. I'm just wondering, how important is it that you have some time of me actually offering you some suggestions, some coaching, some technique and strategy around this? And then I would wait for their answer. And if they're like, well, I really want this strategy and coaching, then I would say, okay, so let's jump in and get started. And tell me, what is the number one thing you want to get out of this session today? I know we wait, let them answer. And then I go, okay, let's start on that and see where we go. Because otherwise you just get wrapped up in story, you get wrapped up in they can't be succinct. And now, did I actually deliver anything by the end of it? That doesn't feel very good either, right? So this idea of helping people get to the point, it is a technique I have used. I'm not asking you to say anything that I have not said to people multiple times, actually. And I've always been able to do it while keeping the rapport intact. Well, unless I've done it in my personal life and I haven't been very kind or gracious in the way that I did it, which can happen sometimes when I feel not at my best or when I feel a little short with somebody, but that's not what we're going for here. We're going for be your best self and help people get what it is that they say they want and need from you. And sometimes that means you have to be able to help them be succinct so that you can then deliver back what it is they say they want or what it is that they paid you money for, right? So I hope you found this helpful. This is just a couple little things here for you to be thinking about. Again, I'm going to say rapport first, relationship first, rapport always. So think about that as you use and apply these types of questions when you're helping somebody get to the point. I hope you found this useful. That was your question for this episode, or a few ways to frame that question to really connect and move a relationship forward with somebody. Now, I'm going to do a deeper dive training around this inside the Sales Maven Society. And if you would like to access that and you are not yet a member of the Sales Maven Society, well, tell me, what's stopping you? What's stopping you from joining the group? We would love to have you in the group. It is definitely the place for you to come and really ignite your sales by learning and honing these skills to be more impactful in your sales conversations. This is where you get access to my fundamental training. You get access to a huge resource library with additional trainings, articles, videos, guest trainers, all kinds of good stuff in there. Plus, there's a Facebook group where you can post your questions to me. And there is live trainings that we do in the group. I go live with the group at least twice a month where they get access to me to ask questions, get coaching. This is my monthly membership program. It's the Sales Maven Society. You can join now by going to salesmavensociety.com. It's $147 a month. And if you want to come and dip your toe in the water and test it out, come for the first month and I will take $100 off your first month of membership when you enter the coupon code 47TRIAL. So that's 47 trial. So 47 trial, all one word, the number 4, the number 7, TRIAL. That will take $100 off your first month of membership. You can test it out for $47. You'll be hopefully blown away by the quality of the content that is there for you. And more importantly, the quality of the group that is there to support you. And I will be your guide along the way. So come join us. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. If we have not connected yet, please connect with me on social media. You can find me hanging out on Instagram and on LinkedIn. I am in Facebook, but mostly inside the Sales Maven Society, so you won't see a lot from me there. But if you want to connect in any of those places, I would love to hear from you. And I hope to see you in the society soon. Thank you again for listening. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks Thanks for listening to Sales Maven. Visit us online at yoursalesmaven.com/maven for more resources to boost your confidence and skills.